The opinions expressed are those of the host. The material is for informational purposes only. It does not constitute investment advice, and it is not intended as an endorsement for any specific investment. Visit crestmontpw.com for more details.
Welcome to the Ascent. My name is Sam McGee, and this is brought to you by Crestmont Private Wealth. We have an office in Boerne, Texas at 604 South Main, and in Houston at 1 Riverway. Today, we have a really exciting show. We have a caller on the line who is someone I've known since they were a kid, and now is a working professional for Origin Bank. Matthew Parra, welcome to the show.
Sam, how are you? It's a pleasure.
So, Matthew, we talk a lot on this show about the trailhead, the ascent, and the summit. And for our listeners, just as a reminder, trailhead is the beginning of career. You're starting to build wealth, build knowledge. Ascent, mid-career, that's where you're ideally making plenty of money and it's going out in truckloads because maybe you've got kids and a big mortgage. And then the summit, that's when you're nearing retirement or at retirement. And so Matthew is now a couple years out of school. Isn't that right?
Yes, it's been 3 years now. At the bank, 2.5 years.
Okay, 2.5 years at Origin Bank. And I've got to give a disclaimer. This is not a public endorsement for a public company. Origin Bank is a publicly traded bank and happens to be where Mr. Parra works. Matthew, give a little bit of your history. Like, where are you from? Where did you go to college? And maybe what led you to your position you're in now?
All right. Yeah, I had a fairly normal upbringing. I grew up in Cypress, Texas, right outside of Houston. High school, graduated in 2018. Afterwards, I went and got a general business degree from Texas State. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I thought that was a safe bet. I got a minor in economics, but yeah, now I'm here at Origin Bank and here in Houston, and I'm loving it. I would go visit my dad in Houston, and I would swear that I would never do what he does. Like, I couldn't fathom dressing up in a suit and tie every day and sitting in an office. But as I got older, I began to realize how cool his job was, and decided to pursue it more in college and especially after.
Awesome. One of the things that we love about our show is empowering our listeners to have wisdom from those that maybe are a few steps ahead of them. If you think about people that are retired, I love having them on to share some wisdom of, hey, what was it like to go through the last few years of working, and what is it really like to retire? And then people that are in the ascent can listen to that and go, oh gosh, I haven't even thought of this. So some of our listeners are maybe clients, kids that are going to college or are about to graduate from college. And I think they're going to be really interested in hearing your perspective, not mine, because I'm 49 years old now. I'm so far removed from college. It's just ridiculous. I wish I was closer to it, but I'm unfortunately not. So give us a little bit of tidbits looking back, going to Texas State, preparing for going into the workforce, maybe some nuggets of wisdom of things you've learned that you would tell your younger self if you were a junior or senior in college now.
I would say relax. Colleges, especially at a state school like I went to, I for sure had a good time when I was there. But those last 2 years when you're figuring out your major and figuring out your minors, or if you're going to go to graduate school or do anything like that, man, it's really important to stick your nose to the grindstone and really grind out those last 2 years.
Yeah, and as far as relaxing, so do you think that there's just a lot of pressure? Did you feel any pressure when you were getting closer to that, oh my gosh, I've got to be on a payroll somewhere? Or you said relax, so what specifically do you mean?
Yeah, mainly just relax and take it day by day. Those classes in your last 2 years, they can get tough. Whether I was in accounting and economics, and they killed me. So I was super worried about what I was going to do and if I was going to even pass. And with all the distractions in college, whether that's going out, having a good time with your buddies, which is still important, but you got to find a middle ground and put your nose to the grindstone and really just enjoy the time that you're there and get your stuff done and keep studying.
So let's fast forward, and now tell us what you're doing now at Origin Bank. I know you had a promotion recently, so tell us a little bit about what you're doing now.
Yeah, so I'm a portfolio manager here at Origin Bank. I manage 3 different lenders' portfolios. We have over about $500 million in commitments. A portfolio manager, I think of it as a bridge between the credit side and being a lender. So handle the day-to-day things within our portfolios and try my best to mitigate risk to the bank and its customers through understanding borrower trends and compliance. But now I'm closer to the sales side than I was when I started, which is my favorite part. Out of the office more, going to lunches, dinners, playing golf, and having a good time.
Yeah, not a bad deal. Doesn't sound like something you'd want to avoid, like maybe when your younger self, gosh, I don't want to be a banker. That doesn't sound terrible. So give us a little bit of some insight into maybe some aha moments or maybe misconceptions you had about going from college to real work life, even if it's something that's maybe it could be a negative, it could be a positive, but just a little bit of things you didn't know now going from college to these last 3.5 years. What have been the most eye-opening things that you realize now?
Yeah, outside of my job and just day-to-day life, I tell this to everyone who will listen. When you first start a job and you're getting a real salary for the first time, no matter what that is, you think you're making more than you are. My biggest issue was I went crazy on the credit cards. Credit cards are great, man. They get you points, they get you airline stuff, but you got to take it easy on the credit cards and really stick to your budget.
Yeah.
And that's something that I didn't do very well the first couple of years out.
So your advice to maybe a senior coming out of college right now would be establish some credit, get the points, but pay it off each month.
Of course, yeah. As long as you can pay it off each month, and then it's great, but you really got to stick to a budget and know exactly how much you're putting on that credit card every month.
Tell us a little bit about what it's like being maybe the younger professional in the office and the value of mentorship. And I know for me, some of the fondest times I had in my career was working at Bank of America Private Bank back in the day. I was the 26-year-old, and we had a bunch of 40-year-olds and 50-year-olds and telling me all these war stories. And I look back very fondly on that, and they took me under their wing, and I'm still friends with all those folks. And how has that been for you? Is mentorship still alive and well?
Definitely. I have the 3 best mentors that anyone could ask for. The young guy, it's going back to what I said in college in the last 2 years. Enjoy the grind, but be a sponge. It doesn't matter your education or your background. You got to accept that you don't know the job. You're not supposed to.
Yeah.
And as soon as I figured that out, it was liberating, honestly, to just truly accept that, put your ego to the side, and that way you can truly learn the best that you can.
Love it.
And that's a quality that these older guys, man, they can sniff it out immediately, and they don't like it.
So being a sponge, I love that analogy. Being a new professional, just getting exposed to as much as you can and learning as much as you can. Do you see that leadership and mentors recognize that as a plus? Would you tell somebody graduating from college like that's a good piece of advice?
100%. Yeah. Being a sponge and just being willing to learn. You pair that with a good work ethic, man, you can take over the world.
That's great. So if you were standing in a room right now with, say, 20 juniors and seniors in college from maybe all over the state, different schools, private schools, state schools, and you're 3.5 years into your work life. So you're far removed from college now. That's an eon in dog years. What would you tell them? What would be your top 3 pieces of advice? One is obviously be a sponge. And what other 2 pieces of advice would you tell them as they enter the workforce? What would you tell them?
Work ethic goes a long way, and I think you just really got to work hard, and you might not be good at it for the first however many years or months or whatever, but showing up and really staying in front of people, and it shows your willingness to be there, and it shows your willingness to get better. And that's what I found, that I never grew up the smartest kid in the room. I don't have some crazy Ivy League education, but I found that I can usually outwork those guys. And
that's good.
And sticking to a routine and just taking care of yourself. And man, I could say a lot, but really all comes back to work ethic and discipline.
That's good. Yeah, grit. I think grit is probably one of the most undervalued but most appreciated qualities that an employer should be looking for, because What you just said, work ethic is a function of grit. And if you've got it, man, that is big. And telling that group of juniors and seniors, hey, have some grit, have some perseverance, work through the hard times, that's a good thing. What would be the third thing you would tell that group of juniors and seniors coming out? I don't know, it could be something funny, just something you didn't expect in the workplace that maybe you know now, but you didn't know then.
You just enjoy it, man. When I first started, I felt down every now and then. I felt like it was taking too long to progress, and you got to realize how young you are. And looking back now, some of the best times that I had were the first couple months in my training program. Be surrounded by great people and get to know them and go have dinners, go have fun, text them on the weekends, and just enjoy it.
Yeah, it sounds like what you're really kind of saying there is building those relationships or building blocks that honestly, I think later in your career are going to be so important, whether it's you or anybody else listening to this show. Do not brush off relationships. Don't burn bridges. Have fun. Get to know people, like you were just saying, and embrace the early years of the hard. Matthew, I think back to when I was just starting my career, and I worked for a group called Norwest Financial, which is no longer around. And we financed refrigerators and guns and couches, and we had to go repossess these things, if you can believe it. And that job was horrible. I would go out like at lunch, and it's just sad. I've got a heart for the homeless, but I'd go out to the parking lot, and there'd be homeless people like asleep in the parking lot where I worked. I didn't envision that. I didn't envision working at a place like that, but I did work hard at it and had that grit you're talking about. And now I'm running a company that's got offices in 2 cities, and I still have that grit. You never feel like you arrive. I think that grit, that desire to better yourself and be a sponge should be a lifelong thing. And it sounds like you've got it. And I really appreciate you coming on the show, imparting a little bit of wisdom. And it'd be really fun to have you on here maybe in 5-10 years again. And, you know, what's your next wisdom 5-10 years from now? Maybe listen to this. So thank you for coming on and just sharing a couple nuggets. I'm sure we're going to get really good feedback from this. There's lots of our clients out there that have kids that are in college, and people that are listening to this right now on Boerne Radio or iHeartRadio that are going, yeah, maybe I need to relax a little bit. Maybe I should value that relationship a little bit more. I'm just going to be a sponge. So, Matthew, thank you for giving your wisdom today very much.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, look forward to the next one. And if you found this show to be helpful today, we would love to hear from you. Reach out to me at info@crestmontpw.com. We hope you have a great rest of the week. God bless.